please introduce yourself to the court, spelling your last name?
Good afternoon, Counselor. My name is Dr. Emerson Heidemann Couples. Couples is spelled C-O-U-P-L-E-S.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a professor of psychology at the University of Iowa. My focus is in child behavior and child psychology. Particularly, my research is in the field of psychopathy, or the state of being a psychopath.
Well, what qualifications do you have?
Well, the doctorate in my name was earned. I received my PhD from the University of Illinois. I'm also board certified here in the state of Midlands, and I'm a member of the American Psychologists Association, the APA.
And have you made any publications?
Sure, I've had 25 articles published, as well as 3 books. My most recent book is From Demonic Possession to ADD, Our Understanding of Mental Maladies Over Time. I won't spoil the ending for you in case anyone here wants to read it, but the short version is we've gotten a little better over time in the field.
And doctor, have you ever won any awards in the field?
Sure. In particular, myself and my esteemed colleague, the Professor Yancey Cobb, we won the Professor of the Year Award from the University of Iowa for our work in using ties as ink blot tests. The major breakthrough was when my wife started purchasing the ties instead of me. She has an eye for that kind of thing.
Now, doctor, why are you here today?
I was hired to look into the mental state of young Jessie Duran, who I believe is the reason why we're here, specifically to see if she had any mental capacities, states, disabilities, things of that nature, which would have affected August 18th, 2010.
Now, earlier you had said that you had expertise in psychopathy, so I'd just like to ask, what is psychopathy?
Sure. So, psychopathy is the state of being a psychopath. Psychopath is a word that's thrown around, but it's actually quite a technical term. It's not a disability or a disorder so much as a different way of thinking that certain individuals possess.
What do you mean, different?
So, compared to normal people, which is a bit of a crass but technical term in the same, when normal people make a decision, generally we weigh how an action will affect us, positively or negatively, against how an action will affect others, positively or negatively. Simply put, psychopaths don't care about the second part of that equation. Psychopaths are entirely focused on what will help them or what will hurt them, and they will do anything to achieve such goals.
And so are psychopaths dangerous?
Psychopaths can be dangerous. They're not always. In the field, we deem psychopathy as a trait of sensation seekers. Simply put, psychopaths are always trying to find what thrills them, what excites them. And sometimes that thrill is violence.
Now, I'd like to talk about why all this matters in this case. Did you ever conduct an investigation into the possibility that Jessie Duran suffered from psychopathy?
I did extensive research by interviewing babysitters, classmates, teachers, as well as reading a few affidavits. And I used this all compiled into something called the Psychopath Assessment Instrument for Juveniles, or the PAGE method, which is a way of finding if people are in fact psychopaths, at least adolescents.
And is this method standard in your field?
Yes, using the PAGE method has frequently been used throughout the field, been peer-reviewed. I will grant you there is some discussion over the age in which the test can be applied, but the majority of the field would agree with my methods.
And did you have enough data and information to come to your conclusions?
I had plenty of information.
Now, how did you apply this scale to Jessie Duran?
So the PAGE method can be simply described as having 10 hallmark signs of psychopathy. Each of those signs can be scored from a range of 0 to 2 based on how severe the signs are. If someone is showing severe signs of a particular trait, they receive 2 points. If they're showing somewhat strong signs of a trait, they show 1 point. And if they're showing no signs at all, they show 0. In Jessie Duran's case, I found that 4 of the 10 signs were exhibiting somewhat strong signs, and 4 of the hallmarks exhibited severe signs. Doing a little bit of simple arithmetic, you get 4 points for 4 somewhat strong signs and 8 points for severe signs. 4 plus 8 is a psychopath, or 12 according to the standard.
And now, how does a score of a 12 compare with that of a 20?
Sure, so as I said, there are 10 hallmarks, each can be scored up to 2, resulting in 20. Now, a 12 is the minimum score. A good analogy that I think everyone understands is something like a breathalyzer test. When driving drunk, and if you're tested at a .08, a .18, or a .28, in any of those cases, you're still above the legal limit and still dangerous. Psychopathy works similarly. If you're at a 12, you're still a psychopath.
Now, earlier you mentioned that Jessie scored 12 points and 4 of them were strong indicators. Could you talk about the first one for us?
Sure, it doesn't particularly matter which order we go in. I suppose we can start with guiltless lying.
And could you explain that?
Sure. So when normal people, again, a crass, but it's actually the term we use in the field. When normal people lie, it's usually an effort to distance oneself from an action. There's some sense of guilt that's exhibited while lying, and you're also trying to get yourself away from it. In this particular case, Jessie Duran shows ample signs of lying for the sake of lying. This could be anything involving what her father does as a career and other things of that nature.
And so if someone who has psychopathy exhibits these signs of guiltless lying, how much can we rely on their statements?
A psychopath who exhibits traits of guiltless lying must be viewed with extreme skepticism when talking to you. Psychopaths are, again, entirely self-motivated and self-interested. Whether it be under oath or at gunpoint, psychopaths will only say what goes to their best interests.
Now, what about the second strong symptom?
Sure. The second, it would be a lack of fear of reprimands or punishment. Simply put, psychopaths don't generally fear or understand the fear that most of us would have if we were being threatened by being punished. Jessie Duran exhibited this in particular, I suppose it's in conjunction with the lying, in an instance where she tried to drown a cat in the toilet. When approached, she said it didn't happen, which I didn't get a chance to interview the cat, but I suppose he would have responded differently. Simply put, Jessie Duran would show no fear in the face of being punished.
And what about the third severe symptom?
The third symptom is a lack of respect for authority figures. Jessie Duran in particular exhibited this symptom by, I suppose as it sounds, not showing respect for authority figures. She frequently would lash out against babysitters and teachers. She would frequently scream for minutes at a time in an effort to get away. Jessie Duran certainly exhibited this trait.
And what about the final severe symptom?
The final severe symptom is a fascination with violence. Jessie Duran, from my research, frequently played violent video games and was very aggressive with her classmates. This showed a history and a track record of a violent young individual and definitely deserves 2 points on the scale.
So, with all of this in mind, does this make Jessie Duran a typical case of psychopathy?
Let me put it this way. Jessie Duran isn't exactly a textbook psychopath, but instead the kind of psychopath you write a textbook about. We generally don't see these signs this early, this frequently in 11-year-old children. Jessie Duran, in many ways, is a scientific missing link. We've found that children younger and younger can exhibit signs of psychopathy. Jessie Duran is a psychopath.
And how would being a psychopath affect Jessie's actions on August 18th?
Well, I'm not a forensic investigator. I wasn't there. I can't tell you specifically about what happened, but I can talk specifically in terms of the mental condition. A psychopath has the capability to take a life.
And what would make someone have the motivation to take a psychopath?
For a psychopath to take a life, or anything for that matter, a psychopath needs simply 2 things: a desire and an opportunity. If a psychopath sees a chance to take a life and wants to, they will.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. No further questions on this.